Welcome to Inspiration Radio, Growth Principles for Humanity and Progress. Join us when we share information, wisdom, and ideas how to create an extraordinary future for us all. The future is open. We together decide what will be in it. "20 years ago, I was in the kind of height of success, earning a lot of money, using private planes and traveling around the world. But with all the outside success, I was not totally happy inside. It happened to be in Australia. I was there and a business partner connected me to one person, and we spent a day on Hamilton Island, and he was working with me on the process, what we called finding your purpose. And he was, at that time, I started at least to be the on-purpose consultant. He was in the university, academics professor before, and changed his life. And with this process, this day, he changed tremendously my life. Out of success outside and inside kind of depression, he gave me the meaning of my life, or made me aware. He didn't give it me, we discovered. From there on, I also created then, first in Europe, the purpose-finding process. And it was everything different in my life. My purpose, creating awareness. His purpose, we will hear it in this session, is igniting enthusiasm. And he wrote a book, Broken to Whole. Sounds very strange, but you will understand when you listen to him. 20 years later, now we connect the first time here in Zoom. Recently, 3 years ago, he was diagnosed with 4-stage cancer, and really also another possibility to stay in love. And the doctor said 3 months. Now, 3 years later, we're doing the interview. It is possible if you live your true alignment and change a lot of things in the world. And live your true meaning, your really life purpose. So for me, it was very touching. And I like that you listen to Edward Gifford, a man with tremendous experience in this purpose work, and really wise, because he lived it. He not just mentally, intellectually learned it. He went through, and he's really an inspiration. I hope he ignites enthusiasm to live a life of purpose for yourself. Oh, Edward, it's so great talking with you. We just thinking what was the last time we met. I guess it's around 20 years ago. And
Wow.
you changed my life, or the day with you, the insights on purpose changed a lot of my life. And I have it more focused on purpose. But 20 years gone, and I know you dived deeper into it. You wrote a book with an interesting title, Broke, and that sounds more like collapsing more than coming to the whole. So I'm happy that we can talk, and that you please share a little bit more of the insights and the more depths you experienced in the last 20 years about purpose, especially also with your recent cancer diagnosis and so. So I'm really curious to get more deeper insights.
I can't believe it's nearly that long ago since we spent those. I'm not sure if my picture is okay, is it?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Yes. Well, it's a real thrill for me to see you again after such a long time, and for us to be able to smile across Zoom, and amazing technology today, which you and I and everyone else uses so well in communicating with others. So getting your message out of the blue from some 20 years ago was a thrill, because I have to tell you, I had been thinking about you, and I'm thinking, well, I've got this diagnosis back in 2021 to say you've got 3 months to live, but you could try a bit of chemo. And here I am nearly 3 years later, being able to converse with you. And I suppose my deep desire throughout all of that time is, how can I use a little bit of time, or whatever time that God has given me, to serve my fellow humankind? And I just know that I can't change the world, even though sometimes we think we would like to, but we can just change ourselves, and we can change those next to us and in our
Yes, but
immediate
that can
community.
have a ripple effect. Yeah.
Yes, the ripple effect, and whoever is placed in front of us to serve, then
Yeah.
open if they are.
Maybe we just go, because going even a little bit more back in time. You started with different business or professions before you came to these on purpose consulting.
Oh, you remember that?
Yeah. What was the key to change it to the purpose?
Well, interestingly, in 1994, well, there were two books. There's an old saying, your life is changed by the people you meet and the books you read. And there was two books, one in 1991, which was Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I was an academic in a university, and the only books I read was research journals and things to publish. And then I got into, I did get into multi-level marketing. And the best thing I got out of all of that was the monthly books that came along. And one was the Stephen Covey book. And then in 1994, along came this book, The On-Purpose Person, Making Your Life Make Sense. And it's by Kevin W. McCarthy from the States. And sometimes, you think a book that has been written just for you because you are ready to receive the message at that time. And so I thought what I was doing in life was really what I was supposed to do, and I'm sure it was in terms of my job, but I was not on purpose. I was off purpose, because I would say yes to everything, because I believed that the more I did, the more accomplishments that I achieved, the greater worthiness was me, and the more people would respect me. But how wrong I was, because that was an ego-driven life and not a non-purpose life.
And fear-based somehow, huh? Because fear-based, you need the recognition.
Oh, yes. Well, I suppose you're cutting to the chase, because, when we're off purpose, our life doesn't seem to have any meaning. We are chasing our tails. We lack energy. We lose our mojo, we get anxious, we even end up in depression. As I say to people, it's okay to be off purpose for a little while if we are so singularly focused on a particular project, but to stay in a space is actually to almost die in some ways, because, I keep coming back to a little mantra, which is die to self and be alive to the Christ mind. I don't mean that in a religious way, but I mean our true self. And, in my book, I talk about the false self and the true self. And I was deeply committed to my life, which was fear-based, because I was hanging on to this separate self called Edward, this body-based self, which I thought was reality.
I really can relate to it. First of all, my facade in Hamburg, with the law office and everything, what I thought I need to do to impress others. So we need to have the right address and everything. But when we met, I had it already behind me, and was also successful in a network marketing company, free to travel, having a a lifestyle I couldn't imagine as a young boy. But like I see it with a lot of money successful people, not really happy. And that was some a blessing that someone recommended that we spend a day together and get a totally, first contact more with what really purpose can mean. Yeah.
Maybe we could pick up on that because sometimes there's a bit of a misunderstanding about this word called purpose, and
yes.
I think I've referred to it as the corporate Tower of Babel, where people are speaking different languages and different meanings.
Yeah.
And so I do have to thank Kevin McCarthy for the simplicity of his definition, and he very, very clearly, and I clearly differentiate between purpose, mission, vision, and values. And purpose is our reason for being. It's why we are on planet Earth. Vision is how we see ourselves in the future and what the picture we have in our mind. Mission is our hands and our feet, what we're doing to bring about our vision, which is anchored in our purpose. And the values, of course, are what we choose to live by day. But let me just bring those together with a demonstration of our body. So purpose is to do with our heart and its being, and being can't be out there. Being is here inside of us all. Whereas vision is also in our mind's eye, but then we see it out into the future. So that is about seeing, purpose is about being, and vision is about seeing. Mission is different to mission statements because the corporate books and everything talk about mission statements, and they sometimes are quite lengthy, and they seem to somehow get purpose and vision and mission values all in the one or 3 or 4 sentences or paragraphs, but it's hard to remember all of that. So mission is our hands and our feet. It's what we're going to do, either tomorrow or in the near future, to bring about that vision that we have, which is still anchored in this lovely umbrella called our purpose. And of course, the values are our stomach and our throat. And I don't know about you, but if you violate your values, or I get this awful churn in my stomach, and some people's throat starts to constrict and they cough. And so the thing is about part of being on purpose is an alignment between our purpose and our vision and our missions and our values. So one's about being, vision about seeing, missions about doing, and values about choosing. Why, where, how, what? There are 4 big questions. Why are we here? Where are we headed? How are we going to get there? And what values do we choose to live by? 3 of those can change and do change, but there's one that doesn't. And here's the big thing. It might be a big call, but we only ever have one purpose. And I believe we're born with it, but a lot of us are not aware of it. And so my role in life is to be able to help people make the unconscious conscious, and to bring about what's deep inside our spiritual DNA to a conscious understanding.
Yeah, since meeting with you, it somehow also my, let's say it's a mission in life more, because we figured out my purpose in life is creating awareness. I serve the world by creating awareness, and finally I named my consulting company also Awareness after Win-Win, but today it's awareness. And with the purpose, you say also, we here in Germany also we have this problem with the purpose word, or a lot in America also I learned purpose is take 3 days, sit down, think about something, write it down, and then you have a purpose in life. But for me, that's more a vision idea. And, not really, and what you said would never change the purpose in this way. We call it today is the true essence, because it's essential and also inspiration, the way to the essential. that really, that is the key where you build on. And when you say purpose and vision, vision is not only what you see, though in this context, I understood you and McCarthy is, the vision is if you really live your purpose. Yeah, if you really live your true self, what you see then, what can come out.
Yes.
Yeah.
That alignment has to be very strong.
Yeah.
But what I found more very interesting, and you talked about, I exist to serve by creating awareness, or my life purpose is creating awareness.
Yeah.
Just imagine you creating that for yourself, and and then when you create awareness for all those around you. I mean, I'm not sure if you've ever come across Anthony DeMello's book called Awareness. And that was one of the books that really changed my life too. Anthony DeMello was he crossed East and West because of his cultural background. And he said, there's only one thing for us all, wake up.
Yes.
And he told the story of, but how do I do that? And he said, awareness. He said, yes, but there must be more to life. And he said, awareness. But how is it that I can get a real life together, a long purpose life? He said, awareness. So that word, I'm just trying to, I suppose, encourage you to think of the magnitude of that word, because awareness of who we really are, our true essence, our purpose, our spiritual DNA. And what I've encouraged through the work of McCarthy was to get two words. And the first word is an ing word, because purpose is being, and becoming. It's eternal. It's not something yesterday or not something future. It's there now.
Yeah.
And the second word, the strongest word, is the object. And your ing word, or gerund, as they call it in English, was creating. What a powerful word is that. And then creating awareness. Now take the word like potential. I know a lot of my clients over years have used this word potential, but some have had creating potential, some had maximizing potential. I remember one of my clients who wrote a book, a sales book. He had a picture of a big tiger at the front, and his purpose was optimizing potential. And he's the tiger about to spring. And imagine optimizing the potential of all those people that he came in contact with and himself. And liberating greatness. Mine is igniting enthusiasm. I must say I had real trouble over 3 months trying to come up. And with this word, these two words, but you see, I remember them, and you can write them, on a postcard, and you don't have to remember a great 3 paragraphs or something. And you can remember that. And sometimes we forget. And sometimes I just want to say that there are clients of mine over the time. I come back 6 months later and say, tell me about your purpose. And they say, Edward, I've forgotten what those words were. And that's an interesting point, because you see, it was something out there. Even at the time, they got very excited and very enthusiastic. They say, yes, that's me. But then when everything's going along nicely in life and there's nothing that's going wrong, we think, oh, we can sail along ourselves, and all of a sudden, bang, we hit a Mack truck, and so I was thinking that those people who forget these magical 2 words are not ready to go on a spiritual journey, because those 2 words happen to name your spiritual DNA. Your parents gave you your name, Wolfgang Sonnenburg, mine, Edward Gifford. But you and I have taken time out to say, well, what is my true essence? What is the name of my true essence? And we have given our true essence a name. Nothing magical about that, but it's an interesting journey to find words to name something so
I
deep.
think it's more than just the words. For me, is it looking back then a guideline, because in my case, creating and awareness, and we came also to this by whatever kind of going deeper and deeper, checking my life or whatever, what is it, to find it. I call also purpose finding and not purpose definition, because the essence is there. So,
Yes,
and I did
always there.
I did a lot of other profiles, and always in the end comes out, I'm a creator. So that is something, something is me. I need to do new things, new ideas. And then on the other hand, people said, don't ask Wolfgang, you directly get a workshop, something. I love to teach. I love to create the awareness. And I was not aware of it. But that, like we talk network marketing, I just only can do whatever it is if I'm allowed to work with creating awareness. My consulting with entrepreneurs is mainly I create ahas with them and show them different ways they can see. So it is really everywhere the essence, and that with the alignments, yeah, brings the fulfillment and also kind of inner peace. So it's just, for me, it's not just the name. It's, what is it called? It destiny, determination, and yeah, the job to do.
Well, I think when we understand the depth of purpose, and my journey, has been possibly slower than yours might have been, but as I understand it more deeply, our life, when we think of it, we have been conditioned since about the age 3 to identify with this body-based self and this body-based mind as reality, as who we are. And I talk about in chapter 2 of my book, if you remember, the false self and the true self, and through no fault of our own, but we didn't choose our parents, and we didn't choose our gender, and we didn't choose the social environment in which we raised, and we didn't choose a lot of our education. So all of that powerfully affects our values and our belief systems and our conditioning. And it's no wonder that we think that this separate body-based self, which there must be something like 9 billion in the world of all these little separated cells. So if, in a sense, the ego will do anything in its power to protect itself, and that's why we have this almost perceived duality of fear and love. And fear is to do with separateness and the preservation of the egoic self.
Yeah.
And love, in the broadest concept, is to do with our oneness and our true essence, or our core, or we were created by love for love. Yeah. And I'm not talking about Valentine's Day love here, as you understand. No. I'm talking about oneness.
Chocolate and jewelry, I'm more on the outside. Yeah.
Yes. So it's something that, you just be love, and that purpose is the unique way in which you contribute love in the world. So it's comes from a place of godness and goodness. And if you remember in my book, I'm not trying to promote that, but I have a line there. Below the line is fear, and above the line is love, and our purpose can only come from a place of love.
Yeah. And like when you said the separateness and the fear, is just the feeling, if you're safe at home, there is no fear because you're safe. But if you go out from your true home, in the woods or wherever, so when you're not at home, then fear can come. Because normally at home you don't have fear. So that's, if we experience fear, anyway, false evidence appearing real is a fantasy, but it's just a wonderful signal. Oh, I should go home. I should be with my true self. Huh?
That's a lovely illustration. And sometimes in my coaching, it's sometimes a little tricky to take people from a fear-based life to love, and what that means. And I don't always use those words, but most people are understanding their thinking mind, their body-based mind, and that's the mind that we have 60-odd thousand thoughts a day, most of them negative. And where does depression and anxiety and envy and jealousy and all those things come from? It's coming from our thinking mind. And I think it's not just me who teaches, but it's well known with psychologists and psychotherapists to actually use the observing mind, which is the mind of God or the mind of peace or the mind of love, whatever, or the Buddha mind. I don't mind, you just call it whatever you like, but the analogy we use is that the observing mind, the mind of our essence, our God, our Christos mind, is like the blue sky. And where does the blue sky begin and end? We cannot. It has no beginning and it has no ending. And it's the one mind in which we all share. It's not a separate mind, whereas the thinking mind is our separate body-based mind. So I always help people to say, just observe and watch those thoughts, because when you observe and watch them, something magical happens. But if you don't observe and watch and notice them, but you attach to them, that's all the source of your great unhappiness and your suffering. Because if you're thinking negative thoughts and you attach to them, guess what? You spiral down into negativity and you become them. And there's that old saying,
at least
as you think, so you will be.
So, very interesting, but it's I think when we come on planet Earth, most parents don't know it really. And we were trained in going in the trap, because you say it's a separation. When my parents told me I am a bad boy or this, so the I amness for me, not just, oh, this is your behavior I don't like. We always will love you, but your behavior I don't like, them didn't make this difference for me. And they were saying, what the neighbor think of you. So my idea somehow was, I need to be different, so away from my true self, to be in the group. So coming away from my true self, I was trained, is not the loneliness, the separation. There is the oneness outside of me. And yes, and then we get these, you call it attachment. I even say, I created a persona and I identified with them, with this persona. And giving up the identification, this is really tough. That's why a lot of Sufis or whatever say you need to die. And I couldn't understand it. But in Hamilton Island, where we met, that was the first time I got this aha. Now I understand my ego needs to die, or I need to, this identification needs to die.
Yes.
But otherwise I have no chance to go to the observer and watch myself.
Yes, absolutely. And that's a point you made so beautifully. The ego has to die. Yeah, even the scriptures talk about dying to self and being alive to the Christ, the Christos mind, the mind of peace, the mind of love. It doesn't matter what you do.
Is it more exactly the identification I need to give up, what feels like dying? Because I had this as a survival strategy in my childhood. Because, first of all, ego we need on this planet Earth. We need different roles. So it's not about just never do this again, but don't be identified. And maybe when you talk about purpose, the vision to the mission, in the mission, in this mission, I have this ego. In this mission, maybe I have that ego. Just to, like I have different cars in my garage. One is maybe a two-seater convertible for sunshine. Maybe I have a truck for this. But I don't want to be attached to the car. Like when my little Wolfgang, or not little, when he was 18 and dreamt about a car, and I finally got my first car, and then the car got a scratch, I had pain because I was so identified with the role. And that's why maybe, what is your take on it? It's not really that the ego needs to die, the car doesn't need to die or whatever. It's just the attachment or this identification, because we are so much more. We could have more than one car. We don't. We are not hurt.
Well, that's maybe this is the first time I have to say, well, I don't entirely agree.
Yes, good. I want to learn. Yes.
And maybe it's a different understanding of terms, because I'm not speaking in German and you're speaking in English, and you're doing amazingly well. So for your second language, to have an in-depth conversation like this is amazing. So I acknowledge that. It's the egoic self. It's our that needs to die, because regardless of our circumstances, regardless of what we're doing, regardless of what's happened to us in life, regardless of anything, we can still be our true essence, and that reflects in whatever we do at any moment. And it's that going back to the alignment again. And when I was talking about the blue sky, the observing mind, noticing the thinking mind, what I was about to say was the thinking mind is like the wind and the clouds and the rain and the weather, and they come and they go and they come and they go. And our thinking mind is doing what a thinking mind is designed to do, and that's have thoughts. And we can't stop the thoughts. The more we try to stop anything, the more and more strongly it's going to come back. But we just notice and say, thank you, thought. I've had you for the last 70 years or 50 years or 20 years. And you're doing what you're supposed to do, but I don't need you anymore because you're not helping me. And guess what? 60 seconds later, it's back again, and you just notice it. And when you're fused to it, though, that's, so I've been through depression as well. And my wife, Angela, is a psychotherapist, and says, I'd get up. The black dog's around today. And she said, that's okay. Just notice it. It'll pass. Just watch it. Go and do something. It'll pass. And, instead of 90% of the community having to have antidepressant tablets, if we just used our beautiful God-like mind, or serving mind, or the mind of love, just to observe and notice what's happening in this personal body-based mind, then we would be a different planet.
Yeah, and just when there's a problem is I think in the Western world that the mind is what we say that is the biggest advantage we have as humans and everything, and we make the mind the boss. But this little computer, even if it's an amazing computer, but can only, what some people say, 40 impulses or whatever per second. Yes. And if we get rid, or let's say pass by the mind, and our true self had millions of impressions, and this is such a heart or whatever, is such a bigger computer, we just need to understand, maybe first of all, the brain is for forgetting where we really are, that we can start to survive here on this level, to make this experience we want to make, to live this purpose we want to make. And it should be the servant. So the heart should be the boss and tell the mind what to do. And maybe if you want to build a house, it's good. You work with your brain to, let's say, pass by the mind. And if we get rid, or let's say pass by the mind, we just need to understand, maybe first of all, the brain is for forgetting where we really are, that we can start to survive here on this level, to make this experience we want to make, to live this purpose we want to make. And it should be the servant. So the heart should be the boss and tell the mind what to do. Maybe if you want to build a house, it's good. calculate better the statistic, whatever, that it will be a stable house or whatever. Yeah, in the engineering world, it's good, but if you have it in English, also in Germany, we say the managers in companies do the things right, but the entrepreneur is doing the right things. So, and then this way, the brain for me is a manager, and hopefully can do the things right, but shouldn't be the one who decides where we're going.
Yeah. Yes. That's that's a good analogy. It's very possible to do things right, but doing the right things is an important thing. I go back to getting voice day by day. Look, for some people, this whole paradigm shift from fear to love can be just like that. But for most people I know, including myself, it's a journey. And every day in my quietness and my meditation and prayer, I just give voice to my true self. And many times during the day, I just watch, observe, and notice what's going on with my thinking mind. But, you know, if you keep coming back to your true essence, suddenly you find, without even trying anymore, there's this paradigm shift, you know, and you can't plan it and you can't force it. You just give voice to that, to your essence, to what you were created to be, and through no fault of your own, up until a certain age, but for a lot of time, we've created this persona, this essence, and to give that up is very difficult. But
when you say give your essence a voice, for me it's more allow the essence to speak. It's not. It shows, well, listen to the voice.
It's an inside out. It's always allowing this. So we've got to be still enough to actually hear. Now that people have a lot of different names for that, and it doesn't matter what you call it, you know, because well, you call it essence. There'll be some people who call it our spirit,
Christians, or whatever,
Holy Spirit. I'm not sure. The Buddha mind would have another name for this, but we know it is. When we talk about love in the biggest sense of the word, we understand the oneness of it.
Yes. Yeah. Coming back to your purpose. So ignition for me, if I translate it, is helping someone to start with it.
Igniting.
Yeah. But so for someone, okay, I help them to start going in the direction. Oh, the rocket is now, we can lift up. So what does it really mean for you, this igniting?
Oh, that's a good question. I have to say that a lot of people, once they find these words of their purpose, can see a golden thread that once they have it, I ask, now that you notice it and have it, have you seen a golden thread that's sort of linked your whole life together? And they go back and say, yes. And now for me, I had to think, well, I went to my workplace. That's what helped me get started with those words. And I was teaching in university, and every semester the students give feedback about this lecturer, and 99%, nearly over a long period of time, the students would say, what are the strengths of this lecturer? And they say his enthusiasm and his passion. And and that gave me a clue. And then I understand, and everyone else has said there's something, an essence within you that shines through. And even my wife said this morning with tears in her eyes, she said, you've been diagnosed, with this incurable disease, and yet every day you're out there smiling and seeing who you can help and how you can make a difference in the world. And I can't put that on. I can't just make it up. It's just in my essence, so to speak, in my DNA. So the igniting part of that is, well, I don't use a great big blowtorch and go, and light up. But if I can give a little spark, and if I can, it's a bit of inspiration, ignite some enthusiasm, because people can quite often get depressed or anxious, and just igniting that hope and enthusiasm. And it's just, I suppose, my attempt to name my essence. I was listening to someone the other day and say, how can you describe God? We've got, in this language, we've got A-E-I-O-U in English, and then a few consonants. And how do you put those together to come up with a name? And it's impossible. And sometimes it's impossible to describe what our purpose actually means. But it's natural for me to just be enthusiastic about life and people. And that's how I make a difference in myself, because I've been through the depths of despair. And how can I ignite enthusiasm in Edward today? And come on, and it's only allowing, as you say, our true essence for us to be still. There is a little quote in the Old Testament: "Be still and know that I am God." So sometimes we have to just be still and listen.
Yeah. To really be connected. And you come to the next word, or like when your wife said, this morning, you're diagnosed with cancer. Well, like from the language, not you have the cancer, so the body has the cancer. So the true self.
You are so wise. Everybody listen to this man, because he understands it's my body that has the cancer.
Not the true self.
My true self.
No. And though igniting enthusiasm, in the word enthusiasm, it comes also back to the Greek roots with theos in it, which means God. Or
with God.
Yeah, so the connection. And if we go in this non-duality, where we don't have this body, the material level, where you said it's so hard sometimes to express something, because if you have an idea or thought in the non-duality and try to express this, you need to use a word on the duality level, and there's a lot of interpretation possible, at least always more than one, that make it difficult maybe in the communication. So, but coming back to your purpose, we now understand more giving the spark to ignite enthusiasm. So what is enthusiasm for you? What do you mean this when the student says the enthusiasm or the passion? What is in your purpose enthusiasm?
Is to, do you know, you're the first person that has asked me that question about enthusiasm. Do you know, I'm sitting here almost speechless, but let me try and communicate something that is unconscious in me. And I could turn this around in the little time that you and I have been talking today. And when we met many years ago, what did you notice? What did you notice about Edward? Did you notice
sometimes we say that's very tricky, answering a question with another question.
I'm working back to it.
I can't remember that I was thinking a lot about your purpose, because with this process, I was busy with myself, focusing
Yes,
myself.
of
For
course.
sure, I had also kind of resistance for the guidance, and you gave me tasks, I need to do it or whatever. Whatever, my ego was resistant, better said, because it's the protection of the old life. But it was also the desire to go there. And what comes up now is more the word trust and safety in the process, that I could go with you through the process
Yes,
and do it.
yes,
So that
yes,
really, and this way, maybe I'm kind of feeling an alignment that is not just he read a book and now he's teaching it. So it
yeah,
really, uh,
living it.
yeah, is integrity in it, and that I could go through it, and that then my experience and the two words creating awareness in the end. It's just, and still today, 20 years later, I'm using it. The company has the name awareness. So in this way, for sure, it was a strong ignition, or you ignited
Mm.
something. And
So I will answer your question. I I wasn't being tricky. I was just interested. The Honestly, I've never sat down to say what does enthusiasm mean, because it's been something unconscious and it just comes forth. And my grandkids, whenever they come near me, they light up and they call me Papa. And they're adults now, and
yeah,
always there's been enthusiasm. I go and play with my golf mates, and I'm out there, and every time they do a shot or great, I'm encouraging them. So enthusiasm has a lot of encouragement with it, and passion, and I, I'm just trying to get rid of stuff that's come up on my screen. Um, so passion, encouragement, enthusiasm. Um, I just want to be light and love.
mm-hmm.
So just to be that and to be enthusiastic, because goodness me, we're in such a world which is chaotic and insane.
Mm-hmm.
And um, and people say, well, what do we do in this chaotic and insane world? And I just said, just be love and be your own purpose for yourself, and then make a difference to those who are around you who are ready for you.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't stop the bombs falling,
Mm-hmm.
but we can actually make a difference in our circle of influence. And our circle of influence starts with ourselves.
Yeah,
Because
that's the only way to stop the bombs. The more we
yes,
fall in love, the less bombs
yes.
we have. Yeah.
Even Jung said many years, what an illusion to think you can change the world without first having changed yourself.
Yes.
And
Exactly.
that's where it all starts.
Yeah.
And it would be easy to catastrophize and say, oh, this world is terrible and it's an absolute shambles of all the suffering that's going on and these poor people. And we actually get sucked up into this fear-based paradigm. And that's when we have to stop and give voice to our essence
Yeah.
and say,
Yeah.
you know, who am I really? By nature, I am love. And that means I love to give love to yourself first and then to those around you and just be your purpose.
Yeah. And just we come back to the wording, what irritates or leads in the wrong direction. It's not about changing the world, because the planet is okay.
Yep,
It's about that the people change.
absolutely.
But as
Yes,
long we say the world should change, we are not really aware that we should change. Yeah, and it's
exactly.
still out there, always.
And it's always in here. You've got to keep
Yes,
coming back.
and if
This
we,
is where the change happens.
yeah, and the more we understand that, then there is no really an outside. Everything is the experiences inside. Yeah.
And what a beautiful gift that you have for people because you're creating that awareness.
Yes. Thanks for your help. We do it together today. This
Yes.
and I want to have more awareness because I started here our talk with what more deeper insights you got over 20 years. So when we met 20 years ago, and so what is it what you said? I got a deeper understanding. You work with let's say just private people, business people. So what changed in your insight over the 20 years? Or not change is not the right word, developed or whatever, more
It's the
deeper understanding.
transformation.
Mm-hmm.
It's the transformation. It's the transformation from fear to love.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the metaphors about staying on purpose. If I remember, you know, we used to encourage people to have a metaphor that would keep you on track, that keep
Mm-hmm.
you on purpose. And
Mm-hmm.
we talk about the lighthouse or the anchor and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. But they're out there, and the lighthouse has to be in here, not out there. And
Mm-hmm.
the anchor has to be in here, you
Mm-hmm.
know, not at the bottom
Yeah.
of the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I suppose my own spiritual journey is the transformation. Maybe that's not the right word, but that shift from fear to love.
Mm-hmm.
It's the biggest journey we ever have to make. And I talk about we have the big choice in life. There
Mm-hmm.
is one choice we're on this planet for, and I think that is our greater purpose. And our
Mm-hmm.
greater purpose of being on planet Earth is to make the choice of a fear-based life, ego-driven life,
Mm-hmm.
a separate self to oneness, to
Mm-hmm.
a life of love
Mm-hmm.
in the biggest sense of the word. And that might sound so simple, but I've taken a lifetime to create this ego. You know,
Yeah.
no one else has done it. I've done it,
Mm-hmm.
and to let go of that. Uh, I I have had a religious background, but I haven't given it up. But when we think of some of the, but I don't practice religion. I've got this what I consider this inclusive spirituality that
Mm-hmm.
was crying out for me to embrace,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been a beautiful journey. And I'm in a place now, and it might be heightened by my present medical condition. I'm not sure, but that's why wouldn't you want to be where peace and joy is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why would you
Um,
want to be some other place? And I've
yeah.
lost my
Oh, I
train
can,
of
can say for myself, because I grew up in a family, or especially with my dad, when I had too much joy, he couldn't stand it. So he always were making stress when I had too much joy. So I really took me years to realize that I'm avoiding the place of love and fear because I go, oh, then I get stress again. Then I get stress again. So kind of also how we are programmed.
so
Mm,
so how powerful is our conditioning?
yeah.
And no wonder, you
Yeah.
know, it's it's hard. But you know, earlier on we're talking about dying to the self and being alive to
Mm,
our essence. Dying. Um, you know, there's so many stories in nature and the seasons, and you know, and a grain of wheat unless it dies, it can't germinate again. There's so many examples right throughout nature, and even you know the winter, and then we have spring and all this resurrection that goes on, and that is almost what for me the Easter message is dying to self and being resurrected in the sense of
mm,
to our true self, and that's a powerful symbol for me, you know, and that's a very difficult journey, and I can't take that journey. They're not ready
because yes, and in my case, transformation can be really painful. Like if you created a pattern, what is a survival strategy, and to give up the survival strategy brings you emotionally to the point of dying, and we want to avoid that. So we keep holding. Recently I changed something here in the office, and there was a box. There was things 3, 4, 5 years. I never looked into it, but thinking, can I throw it away? No, I can't throw it away. Maybe one day for the last 5 years, you didn't use it. No, I need to hold on to it. And says, oh God, if this is already difficult, yeah, how difficult is it to get rid of the ego I invested 50 years? Huh?
Yeah. Yes.
But coming to, and I'm always interrupting you too much, but your development over the 20 years, and sure, I guess with every person, everybody is different. You get more in depth. So what made the real difference, and especially also, I guess, in the when you got the diagnosis of cancer? That is, one part is shocking, but for the topic you're saying now, like a lot of near-death experience, people say afterwards, I really more disconnected from the ego, and it's so much easier also to live the state of love. Was it for you also, or was it more continuous development?
Well, it was continuous development, and I have to say that over the last 30 years, I've had a very good friend, Dr. Phil Harker, who's a psychologist, and he's been my spiritual mentor for over 30 years.
Wow, great.
And I suppose if I can give a call out, not necessarily to Phil Harker, but to anybody who listens to this, to have a mentor who you admire, who you respect. And I have to give thanks and credit to him, because he's on the phone. I used to live in Brisbane, as you know, and he's moved down to Tasmania, and I'm moved across to Western Australia, but he's always on the phone, and I'm on the phone, and he just leaves me little gems, and I'm going through stuff in my head, which you can imagine, and then he makes outrageous statements like nothing ever goes wrong, and I'm thinking, oh, if I said that out aloud to too many people, they say, what do you mean nothing goes wrong? Everything goes wrong. And of course, everything does go wrong with the egoic personal body-based self. I mean, it's chaos, everything goes wrong. But in the place of peace and love and our true essence, nothing can ever go wrong there. It's a place that's safe, and it took me a little while to understand when he said nothing. And I say to my wife sometimes, don't worry, nothing ever goes wrong. And then I get this. Then I have to explain, well, how can it go wrong?
Yeah, interesting. Like you just said, to go wrong or right, it needs judgment. So you just have a perception of something, what is right and wrong. But it's like, for me, it sounds like if you live in a house with a lot of floors and you live on the ground floor, maybe you can just see, and then not far because there are bushes. But if you're on the 3rd floor, the 5th floor, you can see where's it. And that is sort of, okay, I'm here on planet Earth, I can see that. But if I go to my spiritual guides or God or whatever you call it, yes, they see more. So
it's interesting. Sometimes that true self or essence, or whatever you want to call it, is called the higher self. You'll see that in books. And I'm thinking, as you go up, it is the higher self, I suppose, in some essence, in some ways too. So have been asking me about the depth and what purpose means, and it's actually it's our core. You know, I think when I first came across it, it was sort of something that you intentionally did, and sometimes I think it got mixed up with uh, mission and
Yeah.
purpose and doing
Yeah.
somehow gets confused. But
Mm.
when you talk about being is actually now,
Yeah.
and now is the eternal now, because that's now.
Mm.
Um, you know, we talk about the past and we talk about the present, but there is no past and there is no present. There is only this moment, this second that Wolfgang and Edward are communicating. The eternal now is where our purpose resides, and to stay in connection with that in the moment now is being on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not doing all the extraneous outside things of keeping us on track.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's just being our true essence, regardless of our age, our
Mm-hmm.
wellness, our circumstances, our condition, the condition of the world, regardless of anything. We are not
Mm-hmm.
defined by our circumstances. We're not defined by anything other. And so being on purpose is living our essence, or being our essence, or giving voice to our essence,
Mm-hmm.
or listening to our essence now.
Yeah. If we just imagine my soul could jump from one planet to the other, or let's say today I decide to live on Earth and tomorrow I go there, or in the afternoon I will be on Jupiter or whatever different planets, I don't know. The moment I feel I could jump from different to different planets, I don't take what's happening here too serious. Yeah. It's like my house. I have a room maybe in the basement where I stuck all stuff. It's not really nice or whatever. Or I can go in the living room and say, oh, here it's nice. So we just have the illusion to be stuck in something
Yes.
and have not the chance. Well, I can create all rooms like I want. Mm-hmm. And for
The
you,
illusion.
this is a German word game. Like we have the purpose, the vision, and the mission. And in German language, if you have a deck of cards and shuffle them, we call it mission. So mission is mixing something. Yeah, you make a you make a soup and have different ingredients, and then you can rühren or mischen. So when companies have a mission statement, yeah, done by an agency and not really understanding purpose, vision, and mission, MISS. So I went, oh, they have a mission, MISCHEN statement, because nothing is real in this. And you know, I get a funny story. You know, these kinological tests, you can the arm tests, yeah, the tests
Oh,
about.
yes. Yes.
I was in a company and they told me their mission statement and that there will be number one and that was the plan, and showed me charts. And I said, I don't want to listen to it. Can you please come around your desk? Yeah. And I said, can we do an arm test? And I said, oh, let's do an arm test. How strongly do you believe what you just told me? Psst, boom. So that is, yeah, they trick themselves. And if you're out of this alignment, yeah, you're weak. Huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not a mission statement, it's a missing statement.
Oh, it's a missing statement. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
This is so great. But what changed when you got the diagnosis of cancer for you? Especially now also with purpose, alignment, and so on.
Well, my wife and I hugged each other. We were in a little cold icicle hospital room waiting for the Perth specialist to give us a call to give us the results of tests and biopsies and scans. And we were waiting and seeing the little circle on the computer going round and round and round. And we were waiting for over an hour. And then this lady came on, a doctor I had never seen in my life before. And she said, we have the results. You have stage 4 pancreatic cancer. It's incurable. And I said, how long do I have? She said, maybe 3 months. And then when she left, my wife and I hugged each other, and this is a long answer to your question of what changed, and we cried, and we contacted our children, our 2 children who are adults. One's about to be 50 and one's 52. And my son, as he called it, he said, Dad, later he lost his shit. He cried and cried and cried over the phone as an adult, and he said, sorry later. I said, don't be sorry. So what changed? I felt an immediate calmness and immediate peace. And I said to Angela, don't worry. I said, it's all going to be absolutely okay. I'm at peace. It'll all work out. I don't know how, but let's just, and we hugged again, and she cried her eyes out, and I said, it's okay. And I had experienced complete and utter peace until I started to get really better. And can you believe it? This is September 21 I'm talking about. And July, August 22, my CA19-9, which is the pancreatic cancer count, was 24,000 when they told me that day. 24,000. Normal is 0 to 27. 27, not 27. And it come down to 23, which was in the normal range. And my oncologist couldn't believe it. No one could believe it. And I'm thinking, oh, this is quite nice being alive. Oh, I'm enjoying this. And I noticed that my ego started to
kick in,
rise itself. And guess what? I then got fearful. The peace that I was experiencing, I think, oh, I can beat this. And I'm not sure whether that story makes any sense, but it was interesting that you asked me how I felt. I said completely at peace.
Yeah.
But then when everything was going okay, I think what was happening is the egoic self started to rise its head, and I started to be fearful that it wouldn't stay like that, that it would come back. And sure enough, it did. And since that time, it's been an ongoing lot of chemo treatments, and I've now had 41, and I'm now going into 42 3-day treatments, which is a lot of chemicals for the body. But I have to say that that period of lasted nearly 6 months, but I'm at complete peace again.
Yeah. I believe
Does that make any sense? Sorry.
Sorry?
Did that make any sense?
Oh, yes, a lot. For me, it's really deepening some beliefs and or creating kind of alignment analogies from my life and what I'm teaching. In YouTube you find also a video from Greg Braden. There was a lady, and all the doctors said, bladder cancer, no, we can't do anything for you. And they, in the Chinese clinic, they were humming a different frequency. And just if you really go on different frequency levels, you can change your past. So that is a problem. If you fight something, you can be in the problem to stay on the same level where cancer exists. But the moment where you went into a peace, a totally different frequency, you were in a frequency where cancer not existing and is gone away. Then the ego kicks in and it can come back again because you go again on a frequency where cancer can exist. And I didn't have it with cancer, but I did somehow the same thing. When I closed down my law office and everything, I went more than 1 million in debts. So I was quite humbled and looking for the purpose, because I got rid of it because I had no the intellectual idea of purpose, but I felt I need to get out of it. And then I was, in this sense, more in peace with me, even if I had more than 1 million in debts. But then I made money with the network and everything, and suddenly I lived a luxury life, and my ego kicked in again. Yes, and somehow, wow, yeah, and this and that. So I went again out of alignment, and then later the depression came. But nobody could understand why you're depressed, because now you have it all. Yeah, so it makes for me totally sense. And we are recording this also for the UK Health Radio. And the founder was a fashion photographer, and he got cancers, and the doctor says, go home, we can't do anything more for you, organize your affairs. And now 12 years later, UK Health Radio is very strong. Millions of people listen to it, and he is fit than ever, because he changed totally his life. And we have a saying, if you're ready for the transformation, you don't need the reincarnation.
Very good.
That is, but you need to go on a different frequency and need to live a different life. So much more aligned to, what do you say, true purpose, the calmness and the understanding. Or like I said, in other words, from knowledge to knowing, with this strong knowing of the true self, and live from there.
I wanted to just say a couple of things in relation to a previous question, which has just come to my mind. And I talked about having a spiritual mentor for quite some time, and that has played a huge, big part in my journey and my transformative journey and my paradigm shift. But recently, there's two things that really I've engaged with on a daily basis, and that's ACIM, A Course in Miracles. I'm not sure if you know about that, and I listen to the the little workbook things every day, one a day. And of course, alongside that is Eckhart Tolle, or Tolle, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, Tolle or Tolle?
Tolle. We say in German, we say Tolle, but no, Eckhart.
So I've been enjoying his little video clips and his books and so on, because he's talking about everything that you and I have been talking about today. And to hear the same concepts and paradigms spoken by different people is always enhancing your own understanding and growth. Yeah. And so those two, particularly A Course in Miracles, has been an amazing book, if you want to call it that.
As a work, again, can I call it a workbook, or it gives you tasks? Yeah.
Well, there is the heavy duty chapters, but the workbook is very practical, and it keeps you in the space where, as you say, to be still and give your true creation, your true essence, the voice.
Yeah. We did in South Africa now conscious retreat, understanding what is really the true essence. We are so much more consciousness, and the interesting thing is the universal laws didn't change the last thousands of years. What changed is the way we explain it. We adapt the language that people understand today. Buddha talked in the language of that time, Jesus in the language of that time.
Yes.
Yeah, and now we talk more with quantum soups or whatever. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And so in the end, it's always the same. Nothing really changed. And so hopefully more and more people like you work with people, like you said, and influence the next one around you
Mm.
to a better understanding that it's just up to us. And that there's a bigger misunderstanding is that we're from the Bible that we are waiting. God sent us the next Messiah. Yeah, he will come, but only through us. So if we get that understanding, if we're God-like, having this power, wow, then we have to use and understand that everything different. Mm.
Well, I was just listening the other day. There's in the somewhere in the New Testament, Jesus talks about "I am the light of the world," but then in another paragraph, he says, "You are the light of the world,"
Yeah.
and so we are called to be light and to
Yes.
love
Yes.
wherever we are.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of the chapter 2 in my book, there's a question: who am I and what choice do I have? And it was my mentor who put that to me in a coffee shop one day. And that story is there for anyone who wants to read it. But that was a beginning, not the beginning, but the development of a journey, because understanding who am I, is what we've been talking about together today.
Yeah.
And what choice do we have? Well, only one choice: fear to love. That's the paradigm. We make decisions, many of them, all day long, every moment of the day. We make decisions, but either through a core motive of fear or a core motive of love, and that's the big choice of life. And I think what we are doing is inviting others to answer that same two questions: who am I and what choice do I have? And those two questions were transformative for me.
Yeah. Edward, that is a great closing, these two questions. Thank you very much for your time and your insights. I personally can say thank you for what you helped me 20 years ago, what really influenced my life, and that listeners or viewers here, we will put your website out and a link to your book. So I really can recommend, if you're in the English-speaking world, if you like, make contact with Edward. He can really help you to live a more purposeful life. Thank you, Edward.
Thank you, Wolfgang. What a pleasure and a delight to be with you again today after so long. Fantastic. Thank you.